Welcome back. Hopefully you were able to answer those questions correctly. Now let's talk about the IEP. IEP stands for the Individualized Education Program. You often hear individuals say Individualized Education Plan, but formally it's the Individualized Education Program. So the IEP, what is the IEP? It's a legally binding document that states what services a student will receive and why. It will include the student's placement, the services, academic and behavioral goals, a behavioral intervention plan if needed, any extended year services, as well as progress monitoring, so progress reports from teachers as well as any therapists or related personnel. It's very important that individuals plan to attend and participate in the IEP meeting, and the IEP team will look at the student's needs and decide which accommodations and modifications are appropriate. The case manager. So for those of you who will be working in the general education setting, your first point of contact for a student with a disability in your classroom will be their case manager. The case manager has responsibilities that include maintaining records for that individual with a disability, updating and monitoring their progress toward meeting their IEP goals, presenting information at meetings, leading IEP and other meetings related to the student, and coordinating any paperwork. So it's very important that you know the case manager for each student that you may have in your classroom that has a disability. And for those of you who will be working in the special education setting, it's very important that you know your students that you're working with, as well as know their teachers and how best to accommodate for them to be successful in the classroom. So within Infinite Campus, there's a lot of information that you can find. So if you look at this example, you will be able to find that this is a student that has a disability, and you can denote that by this DES. Some other information, you can see that they have the custodial status of that student. Also that student is receiving intervention services in math and English language arts, and also that this student has a health condition. So there's a lot that you can glean from Infinite Campus in relation to the students that you will be working with. Here's another example from Infinite Campus where you can see that this particular student has a restricted pickup, that the dad does not have permission to pick up this child from school, as well as this particular child is in a magnet program. In this case, you can just see again the custody listing. And then finally, you can see that this particular student is an English learner, as well as a student with a disability and receiving intervention services in math ELA with identified health condition. Now, notice here that you see some other terms that you're not necessarily familiar with probably, but this HED simply means that the student is identified as a homeless student, and the S order indicates that there have been some attendance issues and an order has been placed to monitor the student's attendance. And so you can see that from this information, it's very important to know your students, because now that you know your students, you know some of the issues that they may have, you can best be able to serve them appropriately. And in this case, you also see that if that student is gifted, that will be listed. Now, the IEP team. So the IEP team consists of parents, guardians, the special educator, general educator, the representative of the school system. That individual is called a local education agent, a person qualified to interpret test results, the student themselves, and then representative of other agencies that help to arrange for transition services, as well as other persons knowledgeable about the child's needs. Now, the individuals that have to be present at an IEP meeting in order for the meeting to be legal include the special educator, the general educator, as well as a local education agent. So that fourth bullet point, the representative of the school system. Many times the local education agent will double as the special educator. The parent must be notified, they must be invited in writing, and they must be given opportunities to participate with ample notice. So parents cannot be simply excluded from participating in IEP meetings. They are a required member of the IEP team. Why is it important to attend an IEP meeting? Well, it's important, number one, because the IEP is a legal document. If the general education teacher is not at the meeting, he or she is compelled to comply with the content of that IEP. So if you don't participate in the IEP meeting, the results of the meeting are binding, and those results could be applicable to you and could impact the services that you can provide for that student. So it's very important that you are in attendance and participating at all IEP meetings. Finally, attending an IEP meeting allows the general education teacher an opportunity to participate in designing an appropriate educational plan for the student. So if you are not participating, you don't have any type of feedback that you can offer in designing that plan for that student or indicating what the appropriate setting for that student might be. So it's very important that you participate in IEP meetings. Again, IEP stands for Individualized Education Program. We've reached our second checkpoint. So from this, I want you to answer the questions that follow.